And we are live, Charles.
Oh, yes, we are.
You normally catch that before me, but you were not paying attention, Charlie.
Yes, I am sorry. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, that I fell short of the button. But how are you doing, my friend? How are you doing today, my brother?
Yeah, I'm doing groovy.
Hey,
Enjoying.
I kind of wanted to, before we go on with our special guest, I wanted to kind of get some things out there. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the many viewers that have been so loyal into watching our live segment uh, every night at 7 p.m. And this all started with with our brother Mel, and he's been so gracious in having me as a co-host. And we've been having a lot of topics, and some people have asked, how did this all start? And it's all about getting the information out. We just get the information out. What decisions you make, that's your choice. And I like you folks to know that you folks can make. We're gonna give you the best possible information we can, because we all know that a lot of it had fell short on the state side. They fell short of it, and we felt like we got shortchanged. So we're just gonna give you everything possible. And I like to also talk about a friend real fast. That's on Oahu. He has a small company, and he called me up because he watched our show and he said, I really like what you guys are doing. But he broke the news to me that he's been in business for 5 years now. He got 20 employees. He applied for one of those small loans, keep him afloat, the business loans. And he said for one reason or another, he don't know why, but he got denied. And he said, what? He said, bro, I provided everything. I was like an open book. But they just never give me no rhyme or reason why I never qualify. And he said, I think I can handle one more month, but after that, he said, if it goes any longer than that, he says, right now I'm tapping the savings out. I'm keeping he get 20 employees. I'm keeping all my employees on. I'm paying for all of them medical. Some of them, that's like, workers' comp and all that. I taking care of them, and they're all home. And he says, and you know what? Because they're having hard time with the unemployment. He said, yeah, I paid for it because I don't like nobody go through the BS. I know how painful it is. Kudos to him. I said, can I mention you? He says, well, you can tell my story, but don't mention my company. Don't do anything like that because, he said, I must be one of many. But I'm just telling you what I'm going through because, Charlie, I just wanted to talk to somebody. I know you listen. I know you're going to say something, even though I'm going to tell you not to, but I know you're going to say something, and I couldn't hold back. So I just wanted to let the people out there know, get companies like this, people that care about the workers, that they're taking out of their own pockets while there's no revenue coming in. And how much longer can he do it? He said, I probably can do it maybe, about a month, maybe a little longer. But if after that, if nothing opens up, he says, I'm going to take gas. He says, I'm going to take gas. So.
Yeah, I think a lot of small businesses, man. We saw Liki Liki. Who would ever think Liki Liki would go out of business? There's just so many that are struggling right now. Just trying to carry the payroll, the
Right.
overhead, and in fact, a lot of companies, I think we will not see again. They're not going to be able to get through these times. And yeah, understanding that these loans that were made available ran out of money, and then some of these big corporations are giving the monies back. They signed a new bill, so more money is coming. But this all takes time. This takes a lot of energy. Applications aren't simple, and yeah, our hearts go out to these people. And it's tough. It's tough running a business without a pandemic in your area. So for those of you that are hanging on and hanging on to your employees, those of you that got the PPP, hey, thank you guys. Thank you guys for keeping the workforce going. So anyway, as Charlie said, thank you.
You know what?
Oh, go ahead.
Another thing to real fast for those of you, I heard some messages today about the unemployment. I just like say this: if you're supposed to get $638 and you haven't gotten already, I know one thing. That value of the $638 is worth zero. Why? Because you don't have the money in your hands right now. And I want the state to know that. Either you get the money into people's hands right now, or don't brag that they're getting 638 because that means nothing. Because air right now cannot pay bill. The air they have in their hand cannot buy bread. The air cannot buy diapers. If the state, if you're watching this, start doing something now. You got to get their money into their hands right now.
Yeah, and they're trying their best. We talked about it last night. They got the volunteers in there. The problem is that they just simply the system. archaic computer system that can handle so much. So, again, life will change after this, and I'm assuming that the state will look at that system and hopefully improve on that, because it not necessarily has to be a pandemic. It could be a natural disaster. Just the amount of unemployment claims is out of this world. So anyway, before we got Arryl in the waiting room right now. Chair Arryl Kaneshiro is in the waiting room. I want to let you guys know before we start, please go ahead and share. Press the share button, start the watch party. Let's make this go viral. Arryl, I'm sure we will have a lot of information. We've had people from Congress, people from the Senate, people from the House. We've had doctors, we've had all kinds of people. And I'm really happy that Arryl could join us tonight. And again, one last push, not last push, you'll hear it again, but these shirts, we're up to 700 and almost 800 bucks, $10. Kirk Correa graciously donated these shirts. We started delivering them yesterday and today. We'll be out on the west side tomorrow, so expect a call from us. But $10, get this shirt. It's a cute shirt. And even if you don't want the shirt, you want to make a donation, all proceeds, 100% of the $10 or whatever you donate. Some of you have been generous and donated more. We'll go to the Hawaii Community Foundation to help the people here on Kauai. They got a lot of good programs. So without further ado, let me get Arryl in here. We are going to get educated today. There is Chair Kaneshiro.
Hey, Mel.
How you doing, bro?
Good.
You can tell everybody's hair is getting long.
I have the COVID hairdo going on. My hair's all over the place.
I told Patsy today, I said, I'm going to go to Long's and I'm going to buy me a hair trimmer, those things. And she doesn't trust herself, but I cannot go much longer like this. I mean, this is ridiculous. My hair is really weird. It's very thin and it's curly. So pretty soon I have to do the gel action, and I really don't want to do that. That stuff just does not really work. But Arryl, thank you for joining us tonight. Like I said before you came in, we've had a ton of people on the show. We've had the mayor a couple of times, but we never had anyone from the county council. We know you guys been super busy, a lot of issues coming up. So we kind of wanted to just bring you on and bring us up to speed on what the county is doing on the legislative side, on the county council side. Charlie Iona, obviously.
I heard of that guy before. Nah. Hey, Uncle Charlie.
How you doing?
So, Arryl, I know you have not a new baby, but how old is she now?
She's gonna be 15 months
wow.
on the 2nd. So
that's right. Yeah, so right about approaching that what we call the terrible twos.
Yeah, she's walking. She's trying to communicate. So it's been fun.
Yeah, good.
I'm actually she's probably mad at me now because I stole her desk right now. Is what I'm sitting on.
Well, awesome. So we're gonna just turn it over to you, Arryl, and just share a little bit. I know we got some issues we wanted to discuss, budget ramifications of COVID. Where does this county stand? What can the people expect? We know obviously there'll be some shortfalls in revenue. So I'm gonna turn it over to you, buddy, and go ahead and give us an overview, and then we'll be taking questions. You have your Facebook running?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on my
Somebody
phone.
does. I saw you join, so maybe Gwen is watching, but
Oh,
so you won't be able to see the comments. We will. If any questions come in, we'll definitely pass it your way. But for now, I'm gonna turn this bad boy over to you, sir.
yeah. No, thank you. Thanks for having me. I know, as I always say every year, the budget is probably one of the most important things the county council needs to do, as far as looking at the budget, passing a budget. Never in a million years did I ever think we would be in the situation we're in right now. I'm thinking we just went to NACO ending of February, just before this whole thing started getting really big. And, at NACO, you talk to a lot of friends you see up there, and, I have a good friend from Texas, and, he asked me, how's Kauai doing? And, I was telling him, Kauai is booming. Our unemployment rate is, low. We're talking about over tourism and too much people being on the island. Just, everything is booming. And, he told me, in Texas, where he's in Midland, things are booming. Oil's booming. They have so much money. They need to pave all these create these new roads. They have so much money to spend, and within a month, how things have turned around. For us, I talked to him. He said, their place is a ghost town now. Oil is down. They have nobody in their town. So it's pretty crazy. Never in a million years did I ever think we would see something like this, where it's not just Kauai affected. It's not just Hawaii. It's not even just the U.S. It's the whole entire world that's affected by this. That being said, as far as the budget goes, obviously the first budget that was submitted to us was was around the cusp of when COVID-19 was starting to get really big and starting to affect Hawaii. So the budget we had actually didn't have a lot of assumptions in it from the COVID-19 ramifications. So we all knew getting that budget that there's going to be some major changes in the supplemental. You look at our budget, obviously there's numbers that are going to change, numbers like general excise tax. General excise tax is highly dependent on the amount of money that people spend on island. Without tourism here, without them here, obviously that number is going to change. That number is going to go down. So that's a number that in the supplemental budget we'll likely see a lower number. In talks with the admin, they're talking about a 25% decrease in general excise tax. That's about $6.5 million. And again, general excise tax can only be used for roads and transportation. So, we're gonna have to reduce the amount of roads we can do. I think it's probably most likely gonna affect our island-wide resurfacing. Going hand in hand with that, also our highway fund. People are driving less. We collect money from fuel sales that go into the highway fund again to help with our roads. And obviously with the curfew and stay-at-home orders and less tourism, that number is going to go down. We did have in that budget some tax increases. One of the tax increase was to residential investor. Residential investor is anyone that has a home that is not lived in, is not their primary residence, and is worth over $2 million. They're set at a certain tax, and there was a tax increase to residential investor, tax rate increase. And then there was a whole bunch of other increases, to like solid waste tipping fees. Wastewater just did a rate study. They're going to look at increasing some of the wastewater rates. They're looking at park fees, golf fees, motor vehicle, some small revenue numbers. But I think now with COVID-19, post COVID-19, I think they're gonna probably, we already received all of those revenue enhancing bills, and the only one that we're probably still gonna see is a residential investor increase, which is would be about $2.3 million to the county, an increase of $2.3 million. Obviously, another big one in the budget is TAT. That's almost $15 million. Are we gonna get to see it next year? We budgeted for it. I think we'll keep it in the budget, and if the state decides that they're gonna make a change to the amount we get, then we're gonna have to react. Fortunately, we've been able to adhere to our reserve goal. We have about $50 million, I think, in our reserve right now. So if the state does say they don't want to give us any TAT, obviously that's going to be a fight. But if that happens, then we'll probably have to take the money from our reserve, borrow it from our reserve. As far as this budget goes, I think we'll be okay. As far as general, the general fund taxes that come in, it was already set. So it was already set, so that's not going to change. I think when we're really going to see a big changes next year, not this budget but the following budget, on revenue decreases, possibly assessed values going down, hotel, TVRs might change. We'll probably see a lot bigger impacts coming in the next budget. But for this budget, I think we'll be okay. There are going to be reductions in the budget. I think a lot to probably travel type line items, employees, vacant positions probably going to get half year funded. It's what Kipukai does a lot of time. Kipukai spends a lot of time looking through vacancies, how long vacancies have been open, and I believe in speaking with the admin, we're gonna probably see some savings there, and them maybe 6 month funding a position, knowing that they're not going to get hired right away. So I mean, budget wise, I mean that's the type of things we're gonna see.
Arrow, the TAT, no doubt. I believe the state's not going to have a choice, and it's going to be hard to justify retaining the 100% of our TAT allocation, because obviously tourism is pretty much non-existent. So we're going to see a cut there. We're also in a GET 6.5 million, but that really is what the impact of that is just less road work being done, less the repaving and the road work that was on the schedule will probably not happen. You have any idea what the fuel tax reduction will be?
I have the number somewhere. I don't have it on me. I think the larger number was the general excise tax.
And we've been talking about the oil prices, how it went below zero. So right now we're paying on the old inventory, but once that inventory gets used and the cheap oil inventory comes in, obviously the price of fuel is going to go down. That's going to further impact the fuel tax collections for the county. So there's going to be some significant fiscal impacts. And then I think I heard the mayor say that all of the proposed fee increases was not going to happen, that was going to be taken out. And you're saying that the residential investor class, that one will probably be the only one that remains.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, we actually received the bills for all of the other ones, and residential investor remains.
Now, I know that we have a lot of federal funding that'll be coming down. I mean, I guess, in the months to come. Will we be able to benefit from reimbursements for a lot of there's a lot of expense with COVID and, overtime and materials and supplies and equipment or whatever. Does it look like we'll get some decent reimbursements from the federal government as it relates to COVID?
It's hard to say. I know the CARES Act came through. Unfortunately, our county is too small to receive it directly. Oahu will receive their money directly. So I've been hearing the numbers about 20 million. How much of that we're actually going to get at the county is still yet to be seen. And I believe there are restrictions on it also. I don't think we can just spend it in the general fund. So it's yet to be seen how that money comes through. For us, we were actually had a double whammy right when the COVID-19 started, because we actually had major floodings, which was an emergency also. So I believe some expenses we'll see on the front end may get reimbursed by FEMA also, just because we had that major flooding right around the COVID-19 time. And you can see Wailoa Bridge is still shut down from those storms. So it's hard to say. I think EOC and KEMA has been working pretty closely with FEMA, so they have a good idea of what type of expenses are reimbursable and to what extent. I know some are reimbursable up to 75%, and I know I have a lot of faith in them being able to keep track of the numbers and actually pursue those reimbursements.
Hey, Arrow, with all of this funding that comes into the state on the federal side, with Honolulu, with its population base as big as it is, and being considered the hot spot here with the COVID problem that we have now, what's your take on them grabbing the bulk of all the federal funding that comes in? Or is there a mechanism right now that makes sure that each county will get its fair share? Should it be done that way?
I believe there's a mechanism for how much each county is supposed to get. Only thing with the population base, though, Oahu gets it directly. Ours comes through the state and then gets funneled to us. How the state gives us the money, when they give us the money, I'm not really sure on that yet. Yeah, I haven't spoken with them about that yet. But it's a little more. It's an extra step for us and the other counties that aren't as big as Oahu. but I'm hoping we get our fair share. Again, I think the number that we've been hearing is around 20 million. But again, it's not something we can just circumvent and put directly into the budget. I think there's restrictions on it that I'll need to get more clarity on how we can spend it. Obviously our budget now is not anticipating that money coming in, where we have a balanced budget on the expenses and revenues that's come on the expected revenues coming in and the expenses we want to handle. If and when the federal money comes in, then I'm sure we'll have special line items for that.
Now with everything that's happening now, have you been in contact with your fellow council friends on each of the counties, and what kind of we're pretty much all in the same boat, but they must have unique dilemmas in all the different counties. Have you heard anything that might be major, that might be causing problems with the other counties as opposed to what we're having here?
Not really. I have received a lot of information from our other county council members on the other islands about how they were impressed with Kauai and how we were handling everything. We were kind of on the front end. We were taking a proactive approach, and I think they appreciated it. They saw it. They saw the leadership that was coming from Kauai. I think they're a little envious on it. But I think we're all in the same boat, as far as budget goes, TAT, I think we're all going to get impacted. And it's yet to see how it goes, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Arryl, as far as our emergency, the reserve, I think what we get, I think it's what, 30%. The resolution was at 30%. We do have, I don't think we'll be able to not tap that reserve fund. I think no matter how you slice it, we are in an emergency. It may not be a natural disaster, but that funds would be available to reimburse, not really reimburse because it is county funds, but to pay for some of the expenses as we go deeper into COVID. Correct?
Yeah, correct. And when COVID first started, we did release $2 million in emergency funds on the front end to deal with any issues that were coming about. And again, that reserve fund is about 50 million, and it does allow us to spend for, things like economic downturns and things like that. So that's the importance of making sure we always have money in that reserve. I think some other counties might have a difficult time because I don't believe they have a reserve as healthy as us. So they're going to have some struggle. They're going to struggle, I think, with some of the costs that may come up due to COVID or, the economic downturn. I think for us, we're in a good position. Obviously, if we go year after year of having to supplement TAT money, you can see how the reserve would go down a lot. But I think for this budget year coming up, I think we'll be okay. I think the following one, we'll get a better idea of, how the economy is coming back, what type of money the state is willing to give us, and we'll adjust to it at that time, or the county will have to just adjust to it at that time.
I honestly don't know of too many municipalities that have a 30% emergency reserve. I think we're one of the very few, and that was really a bold step. That's because that's a significant amount of money. But when something like this happens, that's really nice to have. Now, we looking at possibly opening up slowly, opening up the county. I know there's we're having, Derek will be on, the mayor will be on this week. We're still trying to lock down the day, but it will be one day this week to discuss I think a lot of people are confused between the governor's stay-at-home order that was just extended to the 31st of May and the counties. There's some differences there. So, hopefully we'll be able to clarify that for the people. But what do you see as far as going forward, as far as the county council? And, let me just make this preface my question with this. Is a lot of people, we had Ikaika Anderson on here one night, and he wanted to make it very clear that the council is the legislative branch. So the council does the legislation, they pass the laws, they do the budget. But as far as any action or activity or direction of the county, that's the administrative, that's the mayor and his department heads function, not the county council. So just want to make that clear. But as moving forward, what is the council's, or what do you think about opening slowly with the impending visitors that we know that on May 1st, the flights will be resuming to Oahu. We know that Delta has reduced they were coming in, they're coming in 4 nights a week right now to Lihui. They were going to go to 7. They changed that. The corporate office decided, no, they're going to cut back actually. So we'll have a Delta flight 3 days a week. But the airlines to Oahu will resume on May 1st. So we will be getting some tourists coming in. What do you think about slowly opening up our economy and getting some people, back to work and getting us maybe to be able to go to the barber shop again?
Yeah, I might need you to buzz my hair, but I don't know what Gweno say about that.
I cannot, man. I gotta have 6 foot arms to do that, bro. It's social distancing.
Yeah.
I can't even get close.
Yeah. But yeah. Oh, and just going back real quick to the reserve again, every budget, I always stress the importance of having that reserve. And you can see we've already had instances of having to use it. We had the North Shore floods. We've had many hurricane scares. This COVID-19 came up. I mean, it makes us comfortable enough to know that we have money there to spend right away to help the community if we need it. And, I think that money is there for us to react immediately. And, as FEMA money comes in and stuff, then we can, backfill the money that we spent. But to have the reserve available and ready to spend when an emergency happens, I think is really important. And that's why I think it's really good that we continue to maintain that target. As far as moving forward, I think there's probably going to be questions on what can we do to open up without superseding what the governor has set. I know, we've set our own little bit stricter county rules, which I think we'll probably be loosening up on, is what I would assume. Again, it's all up to the mayor on what he wants to do, but I could see, us loosening back up on, and they've already done it, started to do it, on landscaping type activities, construction, maybe golf might open up again. I think we're in a good situation in that we haven't had community spread. And it's been long enough to know that we're not going to have community spread unless it comes in on a plane. So again, how we're going to address that, I think it's a difficult question that I think the state's going to have to work on with our county. I do know the 14-day quarantine helps. I do know that DLNR and the National Guard are actually checking houses. I had a friend that went to Oahu for a doctor's appointment. One day came back and they were on 14-day quarantine and they actually got visited by DLNR and National Guard. I think those type of initiatives are what's going to keep our community safe. I think, looking at the future, I would love to see things loosen up on Kauai. But as far as travel coming in, that's probably going to be the factor that would bring in a crisis. And how we address that, I think it has to get addressed at the airport. And, making it difficult for people to want to come and visit here if they're on a 14-day quarantine in their hotel room.
Well, what makes it tough though is, and we had this addressed by several of like Lieutenant Governor Josh Green. We had it addressed by Dr. Miskovich. And what's making it hard, I think, is that when you have someone on quarantine and they're part of a multi-numbered family, so say they got a household of 5. If I am the traveler, I gotta stay quarantined. But yet, that in the house, you're not isolated. So really, the rest of the members in the house gotta stay quarantined too, because they can actually be a carrier if you should so be infected. But that's not how it's working. It's not the entire household that's quarantined. It's just you as an individual. So what I'm saying is, and I spoke to many people before, is that if our numbers show we have no spread, and you hit the nail on the head when there's no community spread, we did everything possible to stop that spread, then really we should be targeting the outside traveler. And what we should be doing is relaxing inside as long as we play all in the sandbox. We don't go outside the sandbox for bring infection in. That's how we should be playing. And that's what I would like to see. Then that way, people can start feeling like, wow, I follow the rules, but I'm getting penalized again. Because that's the theme. You play by the rules, you're going to get penalized. You don't play by the rules, you're going to be okay. And that's wrong. And I think that's what a lot of people are grumbling about because, yeah, we do have the lowest numbers in the state. Then why not let us breathe a little? Because we're doing everything possible. We're staying within our own county. We're not going out of the realm, yeah?
Yeah, and I think, when we talk about loosening, it's going to be that interior Kauai loosening of restrictions. And again, travel is the one that is going to bring it here, ultimately. So, how we reduce that risk on the county, I think it's going to have to be, in collaboration with the state and our county and National Guard and our police and whoever else is going to be checking these guys. But, as far as on island, I think it's almost safe to say we don't have it on island as a community spread. So how do we allow people to start going back to work or getting back to normal? And, I've been hearing from the admin that they're looking at May 3rd as a date to start loosening up restrictions on island. What exactly those restrictions are going to be, I'm not sure yet. I think we'll hear it from them, but I think that is the goal, to kind of bring some normalcy back to everyone's lives. And I mean, we understand the hardships everyone's going through, as far as not working, not having a job. And it's difficult to see. I think, this thing has touched everybody. It's going to touch everyone, not necessarily getting the disease, but, affecting everybody on the island with employment and not having a paycheck. So
I had a really good discussion with someone online. And I basically told the person didn't know me. And we were exchanging, and you could see it was getting heated because we're trying to make points. But then I finally said, you know what? I'm going to create a corridor. So if you have to retreat, you retreat, because of what I'm about to say, it's going to make you think twice. And I told the person, I know you don't know me. And I'm pretty sure you didn't hear about my brother who died from COVID. But I'm going to tell you everything about it so you have a better understanding, because apparently what you're hearing is just a very tunneled viewpoint. And I said, because we're first talking about the difference between the flu and the COVID. We know that one thins the blood, one makes the blood thick. That's the COVID. We know one that's a respiratory illness, the other one is going to destroy your lungs and make it into slush. Finally, when that argument was done, then it was to the point where they kind of understood. And, we both gave each other, it was a healthy conversation. I was hoping other people would chime in. But, that's the thing, I think, with the residents of Kauai. When the information went out, and I told the mayor several times that, hey, I'm at fault for bashing him when he first put that 9 to 5 curfew, because I thought to myself, gee, I never know COVID only worked from 9 to 5 and go sleep during the day when everybody's around. But now I see what he did. But nevertheless, because everyone followed the protocol, I think it made it where we're able to manage. They circled where the infection was, and they kept a good handle on it, and they didn't let it go outside of those boundaries. So I think one of the things I hope he does do in relaxing is allow people, as long as you go out with a mask, you start from there. Go out with a mask, make sure that everybody wear masks wherever they go, but let the people have the free range. Let them go. Let them go where they need to go. They want to go down the beach, hey, make sure they get the mask on. Make sure they practice social distancing. They do all of those things, I think normalcy will get better. Because it's like I was telling Mel, some of the supermarkets get arrows, right? You got to go one way, right? You walk in, everybody got to go on same pattern. I just would like to know this thing. Why is everybody, especially the guys, all stop in a section where we get the condoms? For some reason, you're a big backup over there.
I don't know what store you've been going to or what section you've been traveling to, Uncle. Nah.
The wrong one. That's, you're supposed to be looking for orange, orange rolls. By the way, they do have it. I just got a message that the orange rolls. I just posted an article shortly before we went online, and Mr. Shirai shared it with me. Is a Time magazine article about Hokkaido Island in Japan. Much bigger than Hawaii, but nonetheless, they have the island environment. They're surrounded by water, and the government was under extreme pressure by the business community to reopen, and they did. They had declining numbers. Everything looked like it was okay, and then they got hit hard with a second wave. And I think our success, and this is where I think, not so much for the council or the mayor, but for the state, our success is directly correlated to the actions of the state at the airports as we screen these people coming in. If we allow people to come in without properly screening, without properly quarantining, then everybody's at risk. You know, the visitors come and they go places and they touch things and they speak to people. They rent cars and all of these things. So until we get that down to a science where we are pretty much making sure that these guys are going to their rooms and staying there for 14 days, then then it'll be relatively safe. But if we cannot assure that, you know, Arryl, it only takes one infected person to create a big problem for us here on this little island of Kauai. And I think that is my fear.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the steps we've been taking is ultimately, you know, to keep the community, has been to with the community safety in mind as number one. And again, I think we did a great job. And yeah, like Uncle Charlie said, you know, people may not be as afraid of it as other people, but I don't want to experience it firsthand on Kauai. I can tell you that much. I don't want any of our family or friends to get it, and I don't want any of our elderly, my grandma or anyone to get it. So, you know, I think everyone here has that in mind, especially if we're looking to start, you know, bringing back a little more normalcy to the county. I don't think we wanted to work so hard on keeping it off island to then open it up and allow it to come here. So how we do that, and again, you know, I think we're in a good spot knowing that it's not spreading on the island now. Again, the only way it's going to come in is travel, and what type of restrictions, like you mentioned, we put on people, what type of screening we put on people is going to be the our best defense.
You know, you guys raise sheep, right? You check your fence line every day. You make sure your fence line is up so the predators cannot come in and attack your sheep. And I liken this to, like, you come across and you got a beautiful herd. What do you call one? Is it a herd of sheep or a flock? What is it called?
It's a herd. You can call it a herd.
A herd.
Flock.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have this herd of, prize sheep, and you're coming up the road and you see that little puka in a fence, and you say, you know what? That puka's been there a couple days, another day not gonna hurt. And that night, that's when the predators come in and attack your herd, and it's too late. You cannot replace those sheep that have been killed or hurt. And that's kind of where I'm at. You know, we've all worked so hard to get to where we're at, and one slip and all that would be for nothing. And I think that where a lot of the people are concerned, that not that we're rushing, but as we start to open up, if we're not keeping the fence line secure, we could wake up the next day and find out, here we go, we'll be like Maui, 30 cases, 40 cases, 50 cases. And it doesn't take much for that to happen. That's how delicate this situation is. And I know everybody's looking at that, and a lot of people are becoming impatient and they want to open, and I can appreciate that, but we got to be really, really, really careful to make sure that that fence line is secure.
I think we're. Well, yeah,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
No,
please.
yeah, I think we're all on the same page. You know, we all want, to open the community up again, to open up the economy again, to have people back to work. But again, I think community safety is the utmost importance, and how we do that, the steps we take is going to be critical. And I don't see us taking, a huge step and just, opening the floodgates and letting everyone go back to normal. It's going to be, small steps. It's going to be baby steps. It's going to take a while for things to get back to normal, and that's just the way it's going to be. We cannot, we can only control what happens on our island. If we start opening up travel to the rest of the world, we don't know how well they've done or how poorly they've done at keeping the virus contained, so we need to be very careful. And I think that's on everyone's mind. We want people to get back to work, but we also need to be careful in how we do it.
That is very refreshing to hear. Thank you very much. I know that a lot of people are concerned, and I think these discussions really bring some peace to a lot of people, and of course some anger to others that want to see everything open up. But it is what it is. I did want to go back to the budget real quick, and then we'll go into that additional dwelling bill. That we've gotten a lot of questions about that, and I simply don't have the answers. I wasn't really paying much attention to it, but there will be people. I don't know if we've looked at that, but there will be some property owners that will not be able to pay the property taxes, and I don't know if we've put in some kind of number of possibly not receiving that property tax revenue because the inability to pay. I would assume the county wouldn't go after people in the midst of a pandemic. I know that that the county attorney is looking at some tax foreclosures, but not pertaining to COVID. But have we taken a look at and possibly what that shortcoming or shortfall will be? And also, are we as a county looking at any type of aid to people that are in need in the way of low interest loans? Again, not a council function, but have you heard any discussion about that?
Yeah, it's definitely something to take into consideration as far as, people defaulting on real property tax. We don't put it into the budget because it's really a big unknown. I can assure you that finance is working on programs that will be available for people that are having a hard time. We have, I would suggest if someone's having a hard time to really go and talk to real property tax, and real property tax can provide them with options on what they can do. But we understand that times are going to be hard in the next year, maybe the next few years. So that's definitely a consideration on our head, but we're not going to be able to, estimate how much money that's going to be. We're going to take it as it comes and, try and be as fair as possible. I didn't hear anything about us, going to take a hard stance on people that cannot pay. I think the county is going to be willing to work with them. And yeah, I can safely say that the county is going to be willing to work with people.
And as far as any kind of assistance, I know Hawaii Community Foundation has partnered with the county as far as assisting with some grants. Any information on that our people should know?
Yeah, so with the emergency funds that were appropriated of the $2,200,000 of county money was going to used as assistance for anyone in trouble. I think, again, that emergency fund is important because it allows us to react right away. And, the admin understood and noticed that everyone was having a difficult time getting into unemployment. People are getting to a point where they can't get into unemployment. They have bills to pay, and, they're going to be stuck in a bind real quickly. So fortunately, we're able to work with Hawaii Community Foundation and Hawaii Community Lending, and they're going to be offering money. I think it was up to $5,000, no interest loan. I think some of the payback periods were up to 5 years to people that need money right away to be able to just to get through the next few months. So, and I don't have the website or the information on where to go, but I'm sure if they go, I can find it. I can find it later on where to go. But yeah, that was important, for the emergency fund, and that just shows how important it is to have that emergency fund available and to be able to react to the community. Because I think we all saw the community hurting. I mean, we heard almost every day about how the unemployment website was crashing, and people have tried all week and they couldn't get in, and this was a way to kind of try and bridge that gap in the meantime to help the residents out.
Well, that's good. And yeah, if maybe they can put that website on the and it might be, I didn't even check for that on the COVID-19 website, but that might be a good place to put it. And yeah, I mean, we hear it. I mean, I know Charlie and we hear it hundreds of times a day of people struggling to get on. I mean, they're asking me if I have a secret number to the unemployment office. Do I have a secret website? I don't. I wish I did. We are trying to get someone from the unemployment division of the state to come on, and we're trying to make that happen. But again, there's not much more to say other than we have an antiquated system. We have all the volunteers pushing data into this system, but the processing just takes time, and it's frustrating for these families that are not getting any income. The stimulus package for, the tax stimulus. I mean, that's slowly making its way, but I mean, it's just not enough. So hopefully we can get everything on board.
Yeah, the purpose of that money was to kind of bridge that gap, kind of provides people with some relief now while they're trying to get through the unemployment process. So.
And then we have been hearing a lot about the council's action, and this may not be COVID related, but I think while you're here, Chair, I want you to let the public know there's been some talk about what was that bill, 2755 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
A lot of talk about the council, and there was some back and forth I saw on Facebook several times about increasing density, about the council. First of all, let's start with this. Let's start. The council is still meeting, correct?
Correct. We're meeting on a more limited basis. We have adjusted the way we're doing things. With the stay-at-home order, we've only got 3 people working in the county council office right now. Everyone else is working from home. They get assignments every week, so they are working. And again, to kind of go in line with the distancing and stuff. Unfortunately, the only thing that has changed is the people being able to come into council and testify. We're still taking email testimony. Everything gets posted. It's the meetings are on camera. You can go online at the time to watch the meeting. The meeting gets posted onto webcast, so you can watch it at a later time if you want to. It has closed captioning on them, but yeah, the only thing we couldn't do was be able to take testimony during the meeting, which was difficult on the staff to be able to do, and just try to keep our social distancing. But we are meeting. We've reduced our meetings to twice a month. We're putting all our meetings together. So in the past, we would have a council meeting one week and we'd have a committee meeting the next week. Now we're having council meeting and committee meeting in the same day. And, all of the council members are practicing social distancing. Some are coming on video conference. We're spreading ourselves out in the council chambers. So it's a little different, I know for some of the people that like attending the council meetings and testifying in person, unfortunately, that's something we cannot accommodate right now. If things change and we start to loosen it up, then maybe we'll be able to do that, but then we'll have to bring more staff in also. So.
Main thing
I've always said,
go ahead, Charlie.
I've always said, even way back when, Arryl, when Mel was back on the council, I always said, in this day and age, I think we always should have had some type of protective glass for you folks, because people get really emotional at those meetings. And it's like, you don't have a sergeant of arms there. You guys seem to schedule the meetings where they will talk to the police department, so you always have a police officer around. But then there's sometimes that, you folks get nothing. And I just worry sometimes if somebody gonna say, well, you know what, I don't really like the answers that I've been hearing for the last couple years, and so I'm gonna take them out on you. And then, you go there as an elected official, and then you end up, possibly getting shot. I always say that you folks should have that protective barrier around you at all times.
Yeah, I think for us it's a risk we take, but I think we also want to be warm to the people that are willing to take the time to come in and testify. Also, we don't want them to feel like they're in a jail. Also, put up a barrier and they just walk through the line and testify. It's a risk we take. I think for us, I'm comfortable the way we have it. That's always a risk that could happen. Someone, we've had people get mad, scream, yell. But I think, for the most part, I feel okay there. And I think, we need to provide a welcoming atmosphere for them to testify. A lot of people, and Mel knows, have been intimidated coming in front of council and have avoided coming in front of council just the way they've been treated. And I think for us, we got to provide an atmosphere where people are comfortable expressing themselves on the bills that they come in for.
Well, I agree, but No, it's always err on the side of caution. You know, when I became one cop, I should tell everybody, no, that's the risk you take. Until one day somebody tried to run me over. I said, the hell with that risk. I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna stay alive for you make one complaint against me. That was my thought process at that point. I said, you know what? You really like bang me? Then you know what? I give you something, and so I can stay alive, so you can sue me. Okay, I'm gonna be alive because hard for sue on dead cop. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think when we start it up again, maybe we'll invite you to sit in the front row at every meeting, so then you can be there for us. I think people will come in and see you there and not act up to begin with already. So
I just like make sure you folks are safe all the time. That's all I want to make sure.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've had some occasions. I mean, you know, there has been a few people that has been physically removed from the chambers. That has occurred a few times, but you know, for the most part, if we anticipate a problem agenda, then you know, we typically would get the cops to hang out. But you're right, Charlie. You're right, and especially nowadays because you know tensions rise high nowadays. So anyway, Arrow, the bill, you know, there's been rumors flying. You know, the council just increased density. They're allowing people to build. For the lay person out there, I know there's some people on this call that have asked the question. So, what exactly was that bill that actually was signed into law? Was density increased?
no, density was not increased. So Bill 2755, I'm not sure where we got a lot of testimony on it, but I'm not sure where it got confused that we're increasing density. Basically, that bill allows for a property that has the density, they have the option to build using a shared wall. So they have the option of building like a multifamily unit versus two separate units. And that's all that bill did, was give them the option to be able to build a multifamily versus two separate units. In the past, they couldn't build multifamily units based on the size of their square footage, but they always had that density. The density was there. So, you know, the situation would be, I have the density, but I have to build I have the density for 2 units, but I have to build 2 separate units. I can't build a multifamily unit together and maybe, you know, share on some costs as far as roof and shared walls, you know, concrete going towards one building rather than 2 separate ones. And so that's all that bill does, is it allows residents, and it's on residentially zoned property, to build units that share a wall versus 2 separate units. If they can only build 1 unit, this bill has nothing to do with them. It's for people that have the density that want to build 2 units together rather than separately, or 2 or 3 units, or however many units they have the density for.
So basically, I have a property and it's 10,000 square feet or even 8,000 square feet, and I have the ability to build 2 homes on this property. Prior to this bill, I would have to go get a contractor. I'd have to go get an architect. They'd have to design basically a whole new structure. And that, of course, the cost is tremendous. Now, with this bill, I can really just add an extension for that second unit and make it a separate unit, but not have to build a completely new structure. I could just extend basically and create a separate unit with its separate entrance, separate bathroom, and separate shower, thereby reducing the cost tremendously.
Yeah, correct. You know, like a real life example would be someone that has a R10 property, 10,000 square feet. They're able to build 2 units. They have the density to build 2 units. Prior to this, they would have to build 2 separate units. Those units cannot be attached at all. With this, it allows them the option to build attached units to that unit. So the density doesn't change, just the form of how they construct it.
Basically a townhouse.
Yeah, correct.
They could build a townhouse. And way back in the day, I think it was the feeling of the decision makers. I'm talking way back, Kaipo Singh time, where people here on Kauai didn't want townhouses. You know, everybody wanted their own house, their own single family dwelling. And it was, and you know, you build a townhouse, it's very difficult to get rid of because nobody would purchase it. Times have changed simply because I think the housing crisis. So now with this bill, somebody that's sitting on this empty piece of property can potentially build a townhouse, a duplex, I should say, a duplex, and save, I don't know, Arrow, any idea? Probably save 40% maybe, because
Yeah,
you're
I'm not
sharing
sure.
wall, you're,
It's you know, it reminds me of the bill we had in front of us in like 2016, where you're prohibited if you had R6 or below, you're prohibited from building multifamily on your lot if you had the density for it. And we passed a bill to eliminate that and allow people to basically build multifamily if they wanted to. It doesn't change the density. And this is the same case. Yeah, in that instance, you know, you share on running your infrastructure to one facility rather than two. You know, you share on a driveway. You share on your you save on your shared wall, your shared roof, and things like that.
and then the as far as the septic or the if you add a shared whatever a second unit with a shared wall and a shared roof, what is the requirement as far as you got to put in a septic system or?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure on that. Yeah, I'd
I
have
mean
to get
that this
back to you on
didn't
that.
the bill didn't remove any kind of requirement for wastewater, right?
No, no.
Okay,
All it did was provide an owner with the opportunity to build connected units if they wanted to.
got it. All right. Charles, any questions for the chair, man? You know,
No, it's been very informative that especially with COVID right now in our midst, it's sort of like a juggling act. You're dealing with public safety, then you're dealing with trying to balance the budget, and then you know you've got all these pukas where anything to do with money gonna come flying because with COVID, you're gonna be probably expending more than taking in. I mean, that's just the nature of it. And how you do it with the rest of your cast members of council members is the other thing that you have to deal with, because everyone might have their own idea of how we can generate revenue, especially when times are hard, right? But I think you know, for our viewers, they, you know, we've been giving them information along the way about what COVID does, what it is, and we just leave it up to them to think how they want to handle it. But now we're getting to that crossroads where we're thinking about opening up our island, but how do you open it up in a safe way? Then you as a council chair, you got to start taking into consideration that, hey, maybe more money is going to have to be, you know, money bills going to be coming forward because you're going to have to do a lot of spending, right? If we want to implement certain programs. Whether the state's going to handle it or whether the county's going to handle it, it's still up in the air. So that's, I guess, if I was in your shoes, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's when you're on pins and needles the most, right?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what the future is gonna look like. You know, I'd love to tell everybody things will be back to normal within a year, but it's really difficult to say because we're dealing with a worldwide issue. You know, a flare up can happen anywhere, at any time, and you know, it's really difficult to say, you know, what's gonna happen in the future. All we can do is be prepared on our own. You know, try to protect our community as best as possible, and you know, we just have to see how it goes. But I think, you know, everyone understands that we're all struggling now. You know, business owners that are unable to operate. I think everyone is sympathetic and understands the tough situation we're in. And you know, I'm glad to see people, you know, helping out. And I think the community is. It's fun to see the community, you know, really helping each other out. You see, you know, these pop-up local farmer pop-ups like all over the place where they're selling their fresh fruits and veggies. And you know, I see how important it is, and we've always stressed how important it is for us to you know, support local agriculture, support local businesses, you know, support the local restaurants, and even more so now you see how important it is, you know, how everyone's livelihoods affected by it. And you know, it's interesting times. You know, we don't have a crystal ball to know how things are gonna go, but you know, I think for Kauai, you know, I think we're gonna stay strong. We're gonna be resilient. You know, we've been probably one of the best models I can see anywhere as far as containment and how we're operating, proactive approach. You know, again, how we open this back up, it's gonna be slowly. It's gonna be careful. It's gonna have our community safety in mind, and we're all in this together, no matter what. So we're all in the same boat.
Yeah, and tomorrow tomorrow night we'll have Mufi Hanneman from the HLTA. They got an amazing promotion going on right now. Early on, I was very critical of the visitor industry. I was very critical of the governor for basically patronizing the visitor industry. In fact, the delaying of the quarantine for 5 days, I was very critical, and it appeared that the visitor industry was trying their best to make as much as they could while they could. And Mufi and the HLTA and a whole bunch of people came up with this Aloha Later campaign. It was on TV last night at 9 o'clock. I just put the video on my page if you guys want to watch it. It's an hour long, but it's incredible. And it has all these local entertainers, mainland entertainers, Alice Cooper. Got Chris Berman from the ESPN. You got a ton of celebrities, entertainers, all that come to Hawaii and live here part-time, but they all said the same message: do not come here. This promotion, this campaign has been playing all over the United States. Do not come here. Come later. They call it Aloha Later. So Mufi will be on tomorrow night at 7 o'clock to share all that HLTA and all these agencies are doing to get the message out. Do not come here. We don't want you here. Come later when everything's cleared up. And Mufi will share that program tomorrow. But Arryl, thank you so much. Appreciate you. You guys' hard work. I know it's not easy. It's hard enough as it is without a pandemic running through your county. So keep up the good work, and we'll probably have you back on. Depends how long this thing runs, but
yeah,
probably.
No, let me know. On. Yeah, thanks for having
again,
me.
I want to talk about the shirt before we go out. This is a shirt that Kirk Correa has designed and made for us. It's $10. All proceeds go to Hawaii Community Foundation. Kirk doesn't take a penny. We don't obviously take a penny. If you want a shirt, $10, or if you want to make a donation, just private message me on Messenger with your shirt size. I'll send you the links to pay, and we'll get those shirts delivered to you guys right away. Any closing comments, Arryl, before we head out?
No, again, I think, just hang on, everyone out there. We're all in the same boat, and, just stay positive, spend time with your family, take this time, this quality time with your family seriously. I get to spend a lot more time with my daughter during the day now, which, I appreciate it, and just, try to make the best of the situation while we can. We're all in this together, but just try to make the best of the situation. Yeah.
Well, Charles, any closing comments before we have you ever watched our show, Arryl? You're not gonna break my heart if you say no.
I've tuned in a few times, but I was
Okay,
afraid you're gonna call me out if I watch it, so I only watch it after you're done.
No, man. Listen. We're here to inform and educate, man. And Charlie and I don't know everything, so we bring people on that do. So thank you for sharing. But we do a closing every night. And by the way, later on, you go check the comments and you can see a lot of people appreciate and thank you for being here tonight. But every night we close. We started this a while back, and I can't even remember how long we've been doing this now, but we do this every night. And the whole objective here was to help Kauai flatten the curve. Since we've been doing this, we have a lot of people that come on late in the show just to watch the closing because you're gonna be so impressed. But we were telling people we gotta flatten the curve. We gotta stay at home. We gotta stay 6 feet away from each other. You gotta wash your hands. Don't touch your face. And we kept pounding this in every single night. And that didn't work. We still knuckleheads still running around doing what they're not supposed to do. Then we came up with this idea that we would be deputized by the chief of police, and Charlie and I would go out and catch these knuckleheads, and the punishment would be they got to stay with us for 24 straight hours. That didn't work. So Charlie and I came up with this method. Charlie, you can start vamping us in, buddy. And so we figured we would come in and if people will not flatten the curve, then we will flatten their ears.
Okay. Everybody, take care. Have a good
Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Mufti Hanneman. Aloha later. We love you guys. Thanks, Arryl. God bless. See
Okay,
guys
thank
tomorrow.
you. Stay safe, you guys. See you guys. Take care.